people laughed and chuckled, even players laughed. And now no one's laughing, and it's a bit of a fairy tale almost.
Honestly, safety pin does it. Safety pin does it.
Safety pin. And then you can silk screen the back. You can do like whatever that is. That emboss the back.
But if you just want it, like I put one on a blazer or one of his shirts last time.
There's a kit that is just, I don't know, it's my favorite one. My favorite by far.
Doing, it's so funny to hear people now say, "Oh, can you see all the people that are imitating you guys, like making documentaries about sports?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're stealing everything we can."
Sir Elton was very into the Wrexham experience. Kenneth Branagh as well. It's like another guy I worked with him on a film last year who I would love hearing his analysis because he knew so much more than I did.
Rob Ryan Red.
Croeso, hello, welcome to a very special episode of Rob Ryan Red, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. As you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail if you watch on YouTube, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively joined us for a little bit on today's very special episode of the podcast. So if you're new around here, please do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and really give back to the channel. It's the best way to help us grow. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Rob Ryan Red, featuring Rob, Ryan, and Blake. Rob Ryan Red, Rob Ryan, ready? How are you both doing?
Pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, good. I think good. The fog of war is lifted. It's gone. It's but the feeling is there. I mean, I just can't believe I still pinch myself every day that we're in this position. I don't, I always felt, Rob certainly, it was the wind in our sails early on saying just Premier League, like that's where we're going. And people laughed and chuckled, even players laughed. And now no one's laughing, and it's a bit of a fairy tale almost. Yeah.
I guess it's the first time in your careers you don't want anyone to laugh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And Rob, for you, how was Vegas? I don't know how you've managed to turn that into a business expense, sort of 3 seasons in a row, but
the fog of Vegas is also finally wearing off 10 days later. It's such a blast. I mean, it's kind of wild that we made the promise to the players, or I made the promise without even consulting with my partner, 3 years ago that we would take them to Vegas, not knowing that it would happen 3 years in a row. However, it is such a blast. It's such an opportunity for me to spend time with the guys where there is no pressure to do anything other than just chat and have a good time. They've already done the thing. They've already achieved everything that they could possibly achieve, and to really get to know them, when the stakes are so low.
One of the questions I had was that one of my favorite things that came out of that trip, or near the end of that trip, was you in a golf cart with Charlie Day and Stephen Fletcher. Now, I wanted to know, did you lobby to play with Stephen Fletcher?
Yes. So I played with Fletch 3 times when I was in the UK. Then he came out and we played in Vegas, and then he came to Los Angeles to do press with us. So we played in Los Angeles. So I played with Fletch like 5 times now. And we've actually been on the same team every time we play, and we've won every single match we've played because of him. And I'm just
isn't he like a savant golfer? He's
Scottish,
near professional.
Yes.
Well, they invented it, right? But that doesn't mean anything. Canada invented basketball. Naismith. You Americans figured it out, though.
Yeah. No, Fletch is an amazing golfer. Which I mean, even just bringing up his name is difficult because the brutal reality of football. It just reminds you of like how quickly you can go from spending all day with him here in Los Angeles, promoting the show, playing golf, putting him on a plane, sending him home, and within 24 hours, Phil released him from the club, and that was difficult.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy, was that difficult. I found that too. That's one of the Fletch and Mark Howard Chomp not being in that dressing room and Fletch. You know why I miss Fletch? Why I'll miss Fletch, and why I found that very emotional. There's two factors to the story. One is that Rob and I made a very wise decision, and I can say that with confidence, that we do not make football decisions ever for anything, which actually allows us to have a relationship with the players that most owners don't enjoy, and that relationship with the players creates emotional investment for us and them, and it makes us all feel like we're part of something. And we're in that dressing room with them all the time, and we're giving up pep. Rob does better pep talks than I do. Usually I do sort of like gentle haikus, poetry readings, that sort of thing. But Fletch really reminded a lot of other players that this is fun. And that's the thing that I feel like was a real differentiator in the season, is that you would see guys actually remembering that they're having fun. It's the thing I say to like a friend who's like nervous to go on a talk show or something. Say, picture your 10-year-old self like getting to go do this thing. Your 10-year-old self doesn't care if you're good on it or not. Your 10-year-old self just wants you to go out there and have fun. And that's a pretty cool feeling. Sorry, we got background artists. I paid for background artists to come in and out of the. You can say hi. It's just the podcast with the
Hi.
I like to get a couple of natural crosses in here and there. I'm wearing headphones.
So there is a question. There is a question that was highly requested from a mutual of myself and Rich. That was,
for Blake?
for the whole Reynolds family? How do you make how do you make all these great bespoke items? How do you make all these great clothes that everyone is envious of?
Oh, okay. He's asking. I'm going to take this out. How do we make all these great bespoke clothes for Wrexham? And the truth of the matter is that you take a jacket that you haven't been wearing, and you sew a patch onto it.
That seems beyond my capability. I didn't know I can't sew. That's step one that I'm failing at.
You can safety pin it too. We did that last time.
Yeah.
We safety pin some patches, and then you get like the in hotels how sometimes you can ask for a sewing kit. Yeah. You just get one of those and you just do the corners. Tick, tick.
I feel like Rich and Nathan right now are already a punt. They're just like, nope.
No. Honestly,
you've lost me.
Does it? Safety pin does it.
Safety pin, and then you can silk screen the back. You can do like whatever that is. That emboss the back.
But if you just want to, like I put one on a blazer or one of his shirts last time, and that way it's not always a Wrexham shirt, which is nice to have a Wrexham shirt. But then if you want to be Wrexham fashion.
I do want to be Wrexham fashion. I don't know about Rich, but I want to be the most stylish podcaster out there. That's my aim.
Right.
The whole thing.
Right. So find that old jacket that you have and just sew patching. Or the new jacket.
I'm just worried it might be like a severe copyright infringement if we're printing off. Like
it might be, and I'm probably doing a disservice to all of our merch people who work at the club. So
buy Wrexham merch. Yeah, let's reiterate that.
That way you can have like fashion, and then sporty.
Yeah, but we make nice stuff now. Rob, was that you, Rob? I don't know if that was you or me. The homage was amazing, but so are in the store. There's like really like nice Wrexham gear now.
Well, I guess you've both been like integral as well to like the kits, haven't you? Do you mean you've had the Philly green, you've had the black away kits that you wanted that we couldn't have in National League? Right?
I'm starstruck.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, like, how much say do you have in like the kit process and like these sort of decisions? I said, because like you said, you don't maybe have the footballing, sporting decisions, but you can get your teeth stuck into pretty much everything else, aren't you?
It's like the one thing they'll let us do. It's like the one thing.
But Rob, would you agree? Next year, there's a kit that is just. I don't know, it's my favorite one. My favorite by far. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. But yeah, that if you've seen in the documentary,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But.
It's a huge part of our process is like we get to do, like kids on Christmas. We get to they get unveiled for us. Options get unveiled for us, and then we choose them, which is so fun. But again, just like the players, we don't. I hear you guys. I listen to the podcasts. I listen to a lot of the podcasts, and I think it's fun and fascinating to hear, for example, some of the signings that you guys are interested in, because that's the first time I'm hearing about it. And then because we're not involved in that. So I'm hearing it first through channels such as yours or the Fearless guys. And then I start hearing the names out there in social media or whatever. But we don't really know any of that until Phil tells us. And then by that point, it's already essentially happened. And then we're kind of getting the same information that you guys are. You actually have better.
But it always follows the same kind of pattern, though. You know, there's a signing. Inevitably, Rob and I call the new player. Sometimes call him, sometimes FaceTime him. But to give him our number and our email address, all that. You know, because we don't really pretend to know the sport the way most 4-year-olds do in Wales. We are sort of like the poker player that shows up to the table that doesn't know what they're doing and just crushes like it's sort of an advantage because you don't there's no set rules. I mean, except we broke the first one, which was the away team on our first game at home that we ever saw together, Rob and I. We were wishing our team well, and then we wished their team well as they came through, and Sean Harvey came running over and said, hey, no. We want the blood on the field, and we want the soil to greedily drink it. We're like, okay, got it, right, okay, understood.
Because maybe first of all, in the like National League days, you two had to maybe convince players that this was legit. Like you had, it was a serious thing you were doing, but now that kind of takes care of itself. So I'm guessing you kind of just welcome them to the club rather than convince them to join the club.
I don't know. I think it's the culture over there that welcomes them more than Rob and I. But Rob, you might speak to that. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I would say even especially with the documentary, we had to ask for a lot of trust, and we took that very seriously because people didn't know really what it is we were doing. They didn't know what the tone of the show was going to be. They didn't know the tone of what our stewardship would be. Is this all going to be a giant joke? Is this going to be something you guys don't really care about? And so, when you go into people's homes and you ask them to open up about sometimes, something really painful or something really difficult, that's a testament to the culture of Wrexham, to the people of Wrexham, that they're willing to share their stories with the world. And then also the documentary team who's there embedded, especially in the beginning, because that was really difficult to get people to fully understand and trust what we were trying to do. Then of course that extended into players as well, where we would have 1.5 hour long conversations with Paul or with Arthur, where we're making promises that we knew we had to keep about what our intentions are. And so a lot of that was making sure that Ryan and I were aligned, which we almost always are. I think we maybe disagreed once or twice in this entire endeavor.
Pretty much, yeah. We've been really lucky that way. Like,
wild.
And
then we just lead with honesty, always, like at all turns.
It's a bit. I think of it a bit like when I work with someone that's in a leadership position, which is a real privilege, right? Like you got to take that very seriously when someone's in that position. But when I meet someone like that who is unwilling to say, I don't know, I don't trust them. Or if they're unwilling to say, I don't know, if they won't swear and they don't like dogs, forget it. Forget it. And I think there's something about, I don't know what that is. It's a sort of a hubris that I've seen take down so many ships that were really seaworthy ships. And I think, so going into it it's actually, for us, it's very freeing. We get to say, I don't know, and I don't make football decisions. What we're here to do is to tell your story, and we're here to work really hard at finding what that story is, and it does evolve and change. The thing I'm most blown away by is that you go to Wrexham now, and you think about it 4 years ago, it's just a different place in every way, shape, and form. It's a different place, and I personally love that. I love the fact that 4 years ago, if you ask somebody where they're from, they might say North Wales. They might say Wrexham, but they might say mostly say, I hear a lot of North Wales. Now it's just right down the barrel. I'm from Wrexham. That is crazy to me that can happen in such a short amount of time.
I guess I wanted to ask both of you, because I was going back and watching some of the episodes of the documentary, and I'm immensely proud that it's our club, all four of us and everyone else, that got to tell so many great stories, like Arthur Massey, like, even if they're sad ones, like Anthony Ford, and the vulnerability of James Jones and Jordan Davis, who had another child today when we record. Congratulations to Jordan and Kelsey. Baby River. That's amazing for those. And there's just like so many stories. Like I said, Ford, Jones. There's more than I can think off the top of my head. For you two, I know you'll talk to other people and the work they did, but you must be immensely proud that you got to shed so much light onto not just the community, but really special individuals along the way.
That's a commitment. I think that's a tribute to Rob, because Rob had a tenacity early in the doc where he wouldn't settle. And I think that's another wonderful sign of leadership, but it really opened the door, because once you see someone else express themselves in a way that's deeply vulnerable and hard to do, you're much more likely to find others willing to do that. And that's what happened. And that's something that, and there's so many things that happen that aren't in the doc that are profound and sad. And you look at the doc and you go away for a minute. This is and you have those moments exist too. And I just think it's like more of like earlier when you said players coming to Wrexham. They come because there's a lot of exposure and that sort of stuff. But there's a culture here of people doing good things when nobody's watching as well. And that's the thing that I think is a real differentiator. That's the thing that you feel in the air that you can't quite articulate. So,
and that's why we feel mostly gratitude. I'm definitely proud of the work that that the entire club has done with the community, but mostly I just feel really truly grateful. And to Ryan's point, there are so many things that we choose not to put in the documentary, and I think what you don't put in is just as important as what you do put in. So, for example, there was a player who will go unnamed, but I remember he was playing for an opposing team, and we caught him with his dad having a quiet moment, and he was crying. The player was crying because of something that had happened in the game, and I saw it and it was originally thought of maybe that would go into the cut, and then it was very quickly dispensed with, because we realized we want to tell the truth, but our job is not to exploit people's pain. In the same way that we want to talk about Arthur Massey, actually Arthur, Jordan's son, and then also Arthur Massey, with the same amount of dignity and respect, which is, we have an episode that'll be coming out this year that says goodbye to Arthur. And there is a version of that story that is exploiting the tragedy and pain that is the human experience, just like the player would be, or just like Jordan and Kelsey. But yet you still want to tell the truth. So when you go through and you're making those episodes, you approach it the same way that we approach the entire experience of the club, which is with the utmost respect and gratitude for the fact that you guys have all welcomed us into your community, and we will never, ever disrespect that.
Speaking of the doc, though, the very, very beginning, it's very cool. Humphrey always tells the story about how he put you onto Sunderland Till I Die. And now, I was saying to Rich before, it's actually quite surreal that if it works out, we could play Sunderland next year in a league match. If that happens, are you going to go to Sunderland, do you think? That must be tempting.
I would love to. I would love to go with Lake Poets. I mean, it was the documentary, which was brilliant, but it was the song that got me. The song was so powerful, and that is a great documentary series and worth a watch. And if I'm sure anybody's listening,
it's running in my head right now, that song, as we speak, because it's so bittersweet. It
just crushes you. And so in so many ways, just like we're all doing, it's so funny to hear people now say, "Oh, can you see all the people that are imitating you guys, like making documentaries about sports?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're stealing everything we can." I mean, that is what art is like standing on the giants of the people that have come before you and pick and choose what you think will work and then push it through your own point of view. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're just looking to see what other people have done and what is our version of it.
Well, Elton John. I mean, but that was the biggest surprise phone call I ever got was Elton John after the Ben Foster save against Notts County in that moment. And I don't pick up numbers I don't recognize. I must have had some sense like this means something, because it was also like a certain area code that's well maybe.
Did Knights
and I picked it up and
Knights get like a different country code or something like that? Like was it like Sir?
Well, yeah. I mean, your home is first inspected and then written and lit on fire, and then you're granted access to the night. But I did get it. Yes, Sir Elton was very into the Wrexham experience. Kenneth Branagh as well. It's like another guy I worked with him on a film last year. Who I would love hearing his analysis because he knew so much more than I did.
I'd never met him before. I never met him before. We were at some award show, and he made a beeline for me, and I got out of the way, assuming he was walking towards somebody behind me, and he cornered me, and he just like walked me through the table and where we stood and what our chances were. And this was 2 years ago, and man, it's amazing to hear who's so into it, and I don't know.
Yeah, and also like really would ask questions like, so why is the defense spreading so far when this player subs in? Are his knees bad? What's that? I mean, like, just these weird things that I would go, I don't know. I loved Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting.
Well, we've got Watford away next season, so maybe that's the next one on the list. You could go in the away end, or who knows? Maybe
right.
But
love it.
Rob, you've done Vegas. You've done the Vegas of the Northwest, which is Blackpool as well. Rob, have you? Maybe Ryan, have you thought about going in the away end, or are you going to leave that to Rob?
No, I would. I would love to go in the away end. I wrote a great commercial about the away end actually that hopefully we'll shoot next year. But yeah, I would, of course. What was the match we were going to, Rob? That got rained out. It was
it was in it was right outside of London. Yeah, it was a game that we were both going to sit in the away end. Team. We were in London because I was visiting you, and then it got rained out. I was with you, and we were about to get in the car to go, and we got rained out.
Yeah, I'm dying. He went that Blackpool. That just looked like so much fun.
It was so much fun.
Also, I want to like jump around the stadium more. Like I'd like to see it from the other side. I'd like to see it from a seat, and it's great because like a lot of people probably want to go up to the owner's box, so you can just go trade.
Yeah, we'll
and they'll and
you can have my mum's season ticket. That's fine.
So don't give away Julie's season ticket just that quickly. That's that's I guess one of the questions for you two, because I just think you're just fans like the two of us, and you live and we see all the clips and you react just as we do. I think this season's been amazing. We went up back to back to back, incredible. But there's always that little thing about players that have got you so far. Definitely when I speak to my parents, it's about the players who get you so far and then maybe don't come along with you. How have you found, the likes of Mullin? I know you saw Palmer or Ryan recently in New York, just having maybe diminished roles. How have you found that just following the team?
It just depends. Yeah, it just depends. Like you follow the player's lead more than anything. But boy, it is. There's such a reverence that I know Rob has too of the work that those boys did. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, all the way back from Jones to the Mickey Thomas kid. These are all the bricks in the wall that make this incredible place. And I find it I find it very challenging, that sort of thing. But there's nothing I could say that would be beneficial to either Phil or to a player that is experiencing that would, other than the recognition of what they've accomplished and what they've done, and how our job is to make sure that that's never forgotten. Like as we build the stadium and grow it, we have to really think about the intimacy of it, because that's what makes it so special, is that feeling that everybody feels like it's theirs. And so part of that responsibility is to make sure that you're paying tribute to those that got us there. And certainly those are a couple of names you just mentioned: Paul Mullin, Ollie Palmer. I mean, Paul is one of them. one of the greatest Wrexham legends to ever live. And how I mean, he hasn't played that many seasons there. That's not like a full 10, 15 year career. It's so look what he's done in such a short amount of time. It's amazing.
And yet you also have like your Bamfords or your Carlos Edwards or your Joey Jones or your Mickey Thomases, and the people that I would have never known those names had we not learned of Wrexham only 5 or 6 years ago. But that's the kind of research and the kind of work that we do to make sure that we're honoring the players that I've even heard you guys talk about. Like, there's just something special about a certain time of your life, probably between 10, maybe 8, 9, 10, and like 14, where you have a favorite player. And the truth is, for me, my favorite player of all time that ever wore an Eagles uniform is Randall Cunningham. Was he the best quarterback of all time? No. Did he win us the Super Bowl? No. Jalen Hurts went to 2 and won 1. And yet he can never replace Randall Cunningham in my heart, because he was my favorite player at a time where I fell in love with American football. So I've heard lots of fans talk about their favorite players, right? Well, those are guys that were probably playing when you were between the ages of 9 and like 16. And now you have a whole generation of Wrexham fans who will say, instead of Carlos Edwards, they'll say Paul Mullen. They'll say Ollie Palmer.
Yeah.
They'll say Stephen Fletcher. Yeah. And that is
my mom certainly says Ollie Palmer a little too much.
I think everybody's mom says Ollie Palmer.
Yeah. No, that is so true. That is absolutely true. And it is Mickey Thomas's goal is one of the reasons we came, because you saw that moment, right, of togetherness, and this moment of this giant killing moment where this whole town roared for a second. And it just felt like there was this reprieve in this hellscape that people had been feeling. And it was such a big part of that story. And then the other big reason is that, like, really, we are digitally siloed more and more these days. We're swimming in digital hate tanks. Togetherness is like kind of a scarce resource. So you have concert sports, films, television, theater, anything that brings people together to experience the same thing at the same time in the same moment is super important. And sports does that. Like, there are people with wildly different political ideals that walk through the gates and the doors at Wrexham. But once the match starts, they wrap their arms around each other and they sing the same filthy ass song. And I love it. And that is a very special thing when you can get rid of your identity politics and check them at the door and come in and just say, we are all having a moment about this, and this thing we love is like, there's just nothing better. And that's why sports context, that's why Randall Cunningham is so important to Rob, because Randall Cunningham, I'm guessing, knowing Rob, is that Randall Cunningham played with all of his heart. His acrobatics, the guy would jump and fly in the air. He would be hit in the air. He would spin in a weird gyroscopic kind of way and somehow land on his feet. Mm-hmm. And it was just a miracle. So I see why that would be.
Randall, yeah. I was going to ask you that. You mentioned filthy chants. Do you have a favorite Wrexham chant yourselves?
Well, mine is McElhenney, McElhenney. I have to say, it's not sung enough in the stadium, particularly in April. Rob, you got a favorite chant?
I like less of a chant and more shove that in your up your fucking documentaries, Art.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's a fucking.
We hear
great
that a lot. That's pretty great. Put that in your fucking documentary. That's
well, my first match was the Maidenhead match.
Yeah.
And I've never been called a that many times in my life. It was amazing, and I've been called a quite a bit. I was
preparation
shocked.
for owning a football club, I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, it was so fun. I don't know. I found it to be, both Rob and I just thought it was hilarious. They were telling us we bought the wrong club, and all kinds of stuff. It was just great. It was.
I guess is that refreshing for you too? Because I guess in the industry you live in, maybe people don't say that stuff to your face. But in the industry of sports, if people don't like you, they let you know.
Yeah, I like anyone who lets you know how they feel. Isn't it the worst when you're like, you know somebody and you go 9 months later, they go, I've been pissed off about this thing for, close to a year. And you're like, well, I can't help you with the thing if you don't tell me about the thing. So, I guess it's refreshing, but we live in a world where everyone's pretty darn comfortable saying whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want anyway. Some of the best conversations I've had have been with supporters of other teams, chairmen of other teams. Shockingly, I had a conversation last week with Dan Rice, who Wickham. He's the chairman at Wickham, and I don't know. It was a really nice conversation. I don't know much about him other than we got to speaking a little bit about the gentleman who had a cardiac event at the stadium, and I just thanked him for for everything that he did around that, and there was a lot of humanity expressed, and have had great interactions with opposing players too. I don't know, and then some that are what's that the Sheffield fella? What was his name?
Oh yeah.
Billy Sparks.
Billy Sharp.
I
I was thinking about I was thinking when we lost to Bromley, and there was a guy. I'm pretty sure there was a guy called. His name wasn't Ryan Reynolds, was it? He was something Reynolds, right? That was in the final. So Reynolds did win that day. I was going to say, just in case it is my last question, I just wanted to ask something newsy to get everyone excited, because I'm excited for the transfer window. Are you two going to be signing lots of expensive checks? And just please say yes to humour me, just in case.
What do you think?
I think you're going to. I think you're going to sign some really expensive checks, and I'm just not going to believe you if you say you're not. So that's how I'm going to go to sleep at night.
We want to win.
What so far has led you to believe that we would?
No, but like every year, I just convince myself that you hear all of us talking about consolidation and finishing 10th and finishing 15th.
I truly don't even know what that word means. I don't know what it means.
This is where North American mentality meets British.
We say that every year.
Consolidation. What do you mean? I don't. Can you explain the word? I have to look it up.
It's when Disney decides to buy Fox. And then just fucking sit on the X-Men for like 6 years. I mean, come on. That's a pretty good example. But also, I like Rob. You can't say that to Rob because he'll go crazy. Like somebody said we had a Zoom today. Somebody said, "Oh, you get up in that 7th position in the Premier League. So you're not in that top 6, whatever. The top 6, forget it. Like, but that 7th position, and I could see steam coming out of Rob's ears. He's like,
"Why would you?
What do you mean?
Why?
There's another six positions to go up. What are you talking about?" Like it was, it was great. It was great. So we're coming to win. I don't know. I can't give you a dollar figure, but I can tell you that it's going to be. We are going to be as aggressive as we can possibly be, while being mindful of sustainability, that we have a stadium to revamp, but still maintain its character and culture. It's tricky, so lots to think about.
Yes, and I will say this, and it's interesting that you brought this up earlier, because I don't think you and I have ever discussed this, Ryan, but it shows how simpatico we are. When you talk about when you will mention to a friend who's maybe nervous to go on a talk show, just remind them that it's fun and to actually have fun, and remind your 10-year-old self. I mean, that's literally what I said to the players as when Phil asked me to speak with them. I thought, I don't know anything about performing as a professional athlete. I can only speak as a 48-year-old man who's had marginal success, that you have to enjoy it. And you have to remember the 10-year-old that's inside of you that could see if where you are now, and he would be brokenhearted if he felt like you weren't enjoying every single second of it. So do I want to be number one and win? Of course, that's the point. It's a results-driven industry. It's a results-driven sport. However, to me, what's more important, and I know this sounds cheesy, but is true, is the journey to get there, and the excellence, the commitment to excellence on a daily basis, and the process by which we achieve the result is far, far more important than the result itself.
Yeah, every one of those losses or draws that happened this year that led us to that pitch invasion made that sweeter. Yeah. And I felt, and maybe I'm wrong, but I felt, tiniest bit of innocence leave that stadium that night, because it was, you're swimming with the big fishes now, and it's a tall order to compete on that level, but also make sure that you're always gatekeeping Wrexham. At least we are, as the storytellers, because we don't pretend to be Wrexhamites. Wrexham, is that what you'd say? What would you say? Wrexhamites?
Wrexham,
I don't know.
Yeah, it'll do.
Yeah, you don't like that. No, I'm going to get crucified for that online. But that we're always mindful of that story, that intimacy, and that feeling of like that we are not, we are not London. We are not one of these giant towns, but those are the moments that make it all the best. And now we're heading into this other league that has a whole history in and of itself, and it's hard. And we are going to go up and down and all around, and it's going to be, it's a roller coaster. You're doing a Wrexham. That's what we all say now. We're doing, we finished this season doing a Wrexham. Ben Foster was doing a Wrexham. It was all that stuff, and then even following Kedwood Scott and his journey after that was doing a Wrexham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unexpected and rapid heart rate is how I would describe doing it.
Never write us off. I was going to say as well, last one quickly, Australia. You've said before it's the third biggest market for Welcome to Wrexham. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good to go. How excited are you to go down under? Will either of you get the chance to venture there yourself, do you think? Or
I would say
try.
What's way more important than whether or not we want to be there or how we want to be there. I was with the players when they were told that they were going to be, because they're told that they're going to Australia. And I looked very carefully at their faces to make sure that they wanted to go. And then I asked them individually. And that's been a huge part of this as well. We've been talking about the Premier League, and I'll say that a huge part of this process, year after year after year, because we want to make sure that we're not building what we want, but we are building what the community wants. We have asked people, when even early on, when we were like, let's get to the Premier League, we keep asking people, do you want a Premier League club? Because that might not be the aspiration. The aspiration might be, we are a championship club. Let's stay in championship and let's fight in the championship for the rest of our existence. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we just kept hearing over and over again, that's a dream, but yes, we would love to be up there.
Well, I've never met one person who was like, let's go, let's stay. Let's either stay here or drop down one, maybe two.
It was fun.
National League, no, please no. But it's you're right though. It's any storyteller knows, any storyteller worth the salt. Hi Nathan, knows to listen. You listen to your story because it'll speak to you. You listen to your movie because it'll speak to you. You listen to what's happening in Wrexham, and it speaks, and it has something to say. And I love that we get to ask players, what do you think? And when you do that, they have authorship of, they feel they have some real authentic connection to it. And you want to know, like, these guys are veterans. I love knowing what Fletch sees when he was on the field. I love knowing what some of the guys that are a little bit, what Mark Howard sees, because he's watching and he has the hardest job on the whole team. The guy that has to step up out of nowhere, barely warmed up, and save the day. It's a romantic sport, man. It is really romantic.
That's why we ask before like the marketing teams go and like make those fixtures. We ask Phil first and say, is this going to be a detriment to the club and our chances next season? Because if the answer is yes, we will not do it. It does not matter. It's not more important to us to have those friendlies and to continue to spread the message, although we love sharing Wrexham, the organization, with the world. That said, we will never do anything to the detriment of the success of the club. So Phil says yes, and then the players all unanimously said yes, we are excited to go to Vegas. It's a no. Well, that's definitely yeah. Sorry, that might have been a Freudian.
I can't imagine any of the players said no to that.
I'm much happier to go to Australia than Vegas, personally. Yeah. And next year, we're sending the team to a monastery, which I'm very excited about. Just for some quiet, maybe a silent retreat for 10 days. I don't know, but like, I love that I said to Phil, I was like, Phil, is there any way? I didn't say it to Phil. I think it was said it to the group, and somebody asked Phil if we could play Auckland City FC while we're there, because they're a story in and of themselves. They're first year in the league and they've not finished number one. You have one of the oldest teams in the sport playing against one of the newest. And he wanted to, but it's team first. He needed to get the guys back to the UK, back to Wales, and back to training, and then play a few matches in and around that league and stay loose that way. Because we had one season, I forget where it was two seasons ago, wasn't it, Rob? Where we came in a little cold.
Yeah. It was because they started in the West Coast, then went to the East Coast. No, they went to the East Coast, then the West Coast, then back to the East Coast, then home. That was brutal.
Yeah,
that was brutal, and it hurt them. It really hurt them. And we spoke to the players about it, and they said it was difficult, and Phil admitted it was difficult. But again, that speaks to the culture, I think, of the club, which is that they will speak up when something is not sitting right with them, and we're there to listen.
Yeah. I have to go, but Rob's going to give you another 45. But we really love doing these are the podcasts that are the ones that we're holding up the whole thing, and I know it'd be probably easy to go do the big whatever, ESPN, goal.com, whatever, which we do as well. But these are just as important because they're local, and I really appreciate you guys making the time. Nathan, I know you're on a very extravagant vacation, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us.
And I listen because I've seen you out there in the field, and we've talked about various episodes. So thank you for having me.
Yes,
I'm also a fan.
Thank you to the both of you two. I did, when I met Rob in LA outside his box, I embarrassed myself misidentifying actors that were with him, and I did it to 2 or 3 people. So I've realized if I see any more actors, I'm going to let them tell me what they're in rather than sort of get a bit giddy. After this chat, Rich, I'm giddy that we're going to do this in a year's time, and we might be. Who knows? Let's see. I'm just excited for the roller coaster again now, and it's only May the 20th.
As are we.
You never know. I heard you guys on this podcast say you weren't sure which was more impressive, potentially going from Championship to Premier League or what already happened. So just throwing it out there.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Fay.